I have shared before on my channel that during my time in the military, I served as a United States Army interrogator. The perception of what that job entails versus the reality of what that job entails is two very different things. One of the more difficult tasks that you have as an interrogator is learning to ask the right questions. And in today's video, I would like to cover an aspect of something that's happening in the mainstream media right now that no one is seeing, that if we, as a group, as the population of America, asked the right question, it would change everything. They have a vested interest in keeping us from asking the right question. Not necessarily hiding information, but keeping us from thinking about it in the right way. I shared this before in another video. I believe it was one of the psychological operations videos that may not have been public here, so I'm going to share it now. These are the big four tactics that you will see in every story coming out of the mainstream media. Virtually every one. Upper left, anecdotal evidence. They take something that's happened to this person over here, that's maybe happened to a few other people over there and over there, and then they make you believe that it's much more prevalent because of that, that you're likely to experience that because person A, B, and C did in these other locations. They will then, upper right, add in some emotional aspect to that story to make it memorable to you. And so it'll stick. And of course, they know, without any help from them, the availability heuristic always exists. What is that? Well, you're seeing it on the news, therefore it must be true. Therefore it must be real. Therefore it must be right outside your front door. That's something that the media doesn't even have to promote. It's a natural tendency to believe things. And then the final step, lower right, people go to the internet or whatever source they want to, and then they go look for things to confirm that emotional state. Lather, rinse, repeat, over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what story you're talking about, this is the tactic. This is how you do it. Now, what's the one I'm talking about recently? The question, the proper question that's not being asked. Last night I did a video talking about Nancy Pelosi, her issue with the ice cream from months ago, hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of the most expensive gelato and ice cream that she was using to show how she was right there with the American people in lockdown. And then, of course, most recently, her violating the state of California's COVID restriction laws by going out and getting a haircut. No mask on, nothing, just walking around plain as day. The hypocrisy, even last night, Tucker Carlson and I believe Sean Hannity, I was told, both covered this subject. Now, over on the left, there's this group of people known as the Squad. These four young freshman Democrats that are trying to swing the Democratic Party even farther to the left. Now, Nancy Pelosi is the oldest serving member, I believe, of Congress. She's third in line, Speaker of the House to the presidency, and she presides over one of the larger cities in a state known for its liberalistic progressive ways. Okay? Everybody still with me? Now, Salinas, California. This story made its way around the interwebs. These two little girls sitting outside of a Taco Bell using their free Wi-Fi to go to school in Salinas, California. Now, I have a very specific knowledge of this region. Why? Well, I was stationed very close to here for an entire year. I was a linguist. I've shared that, Spanish linguist, and I was stationed here at the Presidio of Monterey. Now, this area here of California is incredibly, incredibly exclusive. It's very, very wealthy. And right up the road, this is Salinas. As young soldiers, we used to go here to shop all the time when we had the ability to, because shops around Monterey were far too expensive. And as we zoom out here, this is San Francisco. Now, what is the question that isn't being asked? Why can Taco Bell provide Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, to 7,000 plus locations in North America and do it better than socialist California can for its kids? Can anyone answer that question? Why can Taco Bell provide free Wi-Fi at virtually all of its 7,000 locations, high speed for dozens of people who would be in the store or in the drive-thru or wherever ordering? Why can they do it, but socialist California can't? Here's the wiki on Taco Bell, just real quick. 7,072 locations as of 2018. Billions of dollars in revenue, a subsidiary of PepsiCo, an even bigger company. Why? Why can they do it better than socialist California? And here's the kicker. When the word got out about this, there was someone who set up a GoFundMe page for the girls. They raised $141,674, and I think that's in like a week. No, not even that. Created 2 days ago for these girls to get Wi-Fi in their home. Now, it doesn't cost $141,000 to get Wi-Fi. This would be enough money to provide Wi-Fi for the vast majority of the school kids in all of Salinas. Now, here's where we turn the page. People are like, wait a minute, hold on, back the truck up. What does Jeb shooting at some food and up from the ground comes a bubbling crude have to do with this? Well, it's a thought nobody is asking. It's a thought nobody is having, therefore they're not asking the right question. You see, nobody can comprehend the difference between social democracy in Venezuela, where they pay the bills first, take care of society first, and then allow businesses to make a profit in that order. Just like you would do in your own life. You would, if there were kids in your home who needed the internet for school, you would make sure that went into your budget of absolutely bills that must be paid every month no matter what. Like the electric bill, like the gas bill, like the phone bill, fuel in the vehicles, groceries in the fridge. You see, this is the idea that when we go all the way back to the first image that we showed, one second here, that they don't get on the left. Washington, D.C. version of socialism cannot ever succeed because it requires the existence of Taco Bells, of PepsiCos, of Big Oil, of Amazon. They can complain about them all day long and say that they need to be taxed more or they need to be paying their own fair share. But nobody is having that revolutionary thought that you can't just shoot a weapon into the ground and then the oil that comes up out of that belongs to you. You can't have that idea. You cannot have that idea at the expense of the children of your society. Providing internet as a utility would not be hard. It would not be difficult at all for any government, whether it was the California government or the Florida government or Texas or whatever state. Not hard. Not hard at all. should be required as a utility. How do we know this? Why can we say this? Taco Bell can do it. McDonald's can do it. Virtually every fast food place in America can do it. This is the crazy part about this, about how we run our country. It's not that capitalism is bad, it's evil, horrible, and we can't have it. And it's not that socialism is this great, wonderful, light in the shining sky that we all must worship. We just have to treat our country like we treat our own finances. And say that internet, because of the way things are now, we need to provide as a utility. Not certain websites, not particular ones. But when this happens in Salinas, California, someplace you would never imagine. See, if this had happened in Florida, oh my goodness, the media would be all over this. See, the rich Republicans, they have all of these wealthy houses and all of this crap, and they're not even taking care of the kids. This is happening in California. They have twice the tax base of Florida, and I guarantee this isn't happening here. Some of the best schools in all of the country are in Florida. And it's a capitalist's heaven. But there's a great deal of underlying undercurrents of basic social democracy that occur here. This is something that doesn't happen. And what does it have to do with oil? Well, in Venezuela, they say certain things must be done to take care of the people first, regardless of whether it harms the profits of big oil or any other big corporation. They don't fund their country. They don't fund their country on taxing large corporations. They fund their country saying the natural mineral wealth of our country goes to take care of our people first. Something like this would not be allowed. If this happened, does anybody ever ask the question, what about all of Jeb's neighbors? What about, how they packed up and they moved to Beverly Hills? What about all the other people that lived around Jeb? That giant oil deposit that was underneath that area that he found clearly wasn't underneath just only his land. That was just a place where they poked the straw literally down into the drink, if you could, use the analogy, and it came up out of it, but it probably covered hundreds of square miles. This is the question. Why do we have such a problem in this country doing this? It's because we have allowed government, corporate government to take over. And this isn't a Democrat thing or a Republican thing, it's a Washington, D.C. thing. How can oil be illegal? How can gas be illegal? How can gold be illegal? I think I lost one of my tabs. There's a story out there about illegal gold in Venezuela. How can gold be illegal? Here it is. Venezuela moves from oil to gold because D.C. has now, in collusion with big oil, attempted to exclude them from the markets, which is what they needed to do when they lifted the ban back in 2015. They needed to get their own seat at the table, big oil. So they had to pick on Venezuela and kick them out. And they knew they could use these 4 tactics to make you believe something wasn't true in Venezuela. Anecdotal evidence. Let's show a few pictures of some skinny people in Venezuela and say they're starving. That will lead people to go, oh, think of the children and the women, appeal to emotion, so they'll remember it. And because we'll put it on Fox, and we'll put it on CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS, availability heuristic will kick in, and people will just automatically assume it's true, and then they'll go search Google, who we have in our pocket, who will show them the same thing, and that will give them the confirmation bias, and we'll start all over again. Psychological Operations 101, keeping people from asking the right questions. socialism, as instituted by Washington, D.C., guarantees it has to fail, because if it were to attempt to succeed, there would be no way to demonize anyone. There would be no way to get people in an emotional state so that you could manipulate them. And that's how we got to here. You've got to keep people in this state when you want to do what DC does, to control the masses. Saying something is illegal is not an argument. It is an appeal to authority. Laws are arbitrary dictates to control a population, not universal standards of morality. Because what people believe is true, and what is truth, seriously depends a lot on their perspective. Think about those two little girls that had to go to Taco Bell, sit there on the curb to do their schoolwork. Think about their perception of the state they live in, being called a socialist paradise, when they had to go to a capitalist paradise to actually get schooling. And this is what happens. I'm going to get this from both sides. You don't understand what socialism is, and you don't understand what capitalism is. Overestimate the probability of events we have recently seen or read about, believing that an event is more likely because you know someone who has experienced it. Nobody knew these girls until somebody put it on the internet and made an emotional issue out of it. It is a great thought exercise. Feel bad for the girls, don't get me wrong. But it's truly a thought exercise, not an emotional one. Not a feeling exercise. This $141,000, though, came from a lot of emotion. A lot of, oh my goodness, we must do something. People are still giving money. I just brought this tab up just a few minutes ago. $50, $20, $10, $25. The left will say, see, that means we need to tax people more. Look at all of the extra money they have that we could have taxed out of them. They were just trying to raise $20,000. They raised $141,000 in 2 days. That's how the left will see this. And those in the far right will just use it to say how bad California is and not ask the right question. Not ask the right question. So I will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for all the support over on Twitch, by the way. Because of all of the support with the masks, I was contacted by Teespring, and they are going to work with me to take a lot of the images that we've put on the masks and migrate them onto hats, which is a little bit more complicated unless you're really a professional designer, but because we've had so much success with the masks, they're going to step in and assist in this process. So be looking for that. Any of your favorite images that you saw on a mask that you thought, gosh, I just don't want to wear a mask, but man, that's a great image. Stay tuned. It's going to come out on hats. So like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time.